I attempt suicide a handful of times. This is late 2018, early 2019. I realized that I don't know who I am, don't know what I want, don't even know what I like, don't know how I'm supposed to contribute to the world around me. That was really the impetus for me to be like, holy shit, I need to make a change. Something has to change. Either I decide to be different or I don't exist anymore. And in those moments, I was so concerned with being a burden to others that I was unwilling and unable to ask for help.
It was what you were used to. Your individual needs, they don't have space.
They don't have space, and if you've been told your whole life that they don't have space, it would make perfect sense that you wouldn't be able to ask for what you need.
There's a lot of talk about psychedelics and how is it benefiting for people with trauma, for everyone who struggles with their mental health.
Psychedelics for me were really incredible because what I've experienced is that plant medicine just provides a new perspective. I felt joy for the first time, like real joy, and not just like I thought it was joy, I felt it in my body. The commitment to this work is a commitment to you for the rest of your life. And there is no end game. There's no 3-month contract and this thing's going to be better at the end. It's like, this is just a lifetime effort.
It's the most important relationship you will ever have.
Yeah.
Welcome to today's episode, everyone. I'm here in LA. Welcome to Real, Raw, and Authentic. Today, I'm sitting here with Ben Smith. He is a holistic wellness coach. Thank you so much, Ben, for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, this is great. I had to drive to the other side of town today, and I got to spend some time in the car in traffic thinking about this. And I'm really excited because I see a lot of what you put on the internet, and it always resonates with me so deeply. And I'm just really happy to have these conversations in a way that people can experience them and maybe learn something. So.
I'm sure they will. This is a very special episode because there's so much more about Ben that I didn't even know. I had a feeling that's why I saw your content. I was like, there is something about Ben. Ben, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, I do a really poor job of showcasing what I actually do in my life on the internet. So if you have seen me on the internet, you're getting a small piece. It's a real, authentic piece, but it's just a small little share, and I hope today I'll be able to talk deeper about what I actually do and how I hope to contribute to the mental health space and the healing space. So for me, I call myself an integrative wellness practitioner or a holistic wellness coach. You could say whatever you want. I'm not a therapist. I said in the hallway before this that I'm just a guy who's lost his mind and figured out a way to feel better. And I think about it like climbing a mountain, like we're on the mountain together and maybe I'm just a step or half a step in front of you. I'm like, hey, watch out for that. Or like, hey, there's a place for your foot. I'm just here to help maybe provide a little bit of perspective and a little bit of safety for people who are navigating a thing that is often quite challenging. But
you're a guiding light for others, right?
Yeah,
but it stems from
my own experience. Own journey. Yeah. So I could start from the beginning. I was an athlete my whole life. My worth as a human was based in how well I could perform on the sports field or in the classroom or in any domain of my life. I never really felt like I was anything more than just the external perception. This was language I didn't have back then, but now here I can look back and be like, oh, yeah, I really didn't see myself as a person or as an identity other than the things I was able to produce or the joy I was able to bring others, which is like an interesting thing to relate to now. Then I joined the Army, and I was in the Army for about 10 years. That was its own version of the same experience, even more intense, where like you are your rank, you are your awards, you are the way that you lead soldiers in combat or not. And it just reinforced this idea that like Ben as a person isn't so worthy of love or admiration or care or attention or consideration. And I get out of the Army at 28 years old, which was about 6.5 years ago. I get out of the Army and I realize that I don't know who I am, don't know what I want, don't even know what I like, don't know how I'm supposed to contribute to the world around me. My life had been one massive act of service. I thought it was altruistic, but it was really just a self-preservation tactic. If I can serve others, then they might find me worthy. And I get out and I have this incredible identity crisis, which coincided with an even more grave mental health crisis. And ultimately, I attempt suicide a handful of times. This is late 2018, early 2019. And as we talked before the podcast, that was really the impetus for me to be like, holy shit, I need to make a change. something has to change. Either I decide to be different or I don't exist anymore, potentially. And there's this quote that I shared before we started recording. I believe it's Nietzsche, but he says that between stimulus and response, there is a pause. Between what's happened and what will occur next, there's an opportunity for choice. And my choice was to just take a stand for myself in that moment and take a stand for my future that I, know I deserve, the one that I desire, which is, it's funny looking back because I didn't have any knowledge of this. I just knew that something wasn't right. Like I just knew that something didn't feel right, and there was an opportunity for me to try something new. I got introduced to the cognitive behavioral therapy models, and I didn't have the greatest experience. And then by luck, my roommate at the time, he's a guy named Caleb Campbell. He's a great guy, former NFL player. Now he's a public speaker. He talks a lot about transition and finding purpose, meaning, and fulfillment in your life. He was my roommate at the time, and he introduced me to my now therapist, and she happens to be a somatic experiencing practitioner. And so I was exposed to this world of healing that was so novel to me. I had no idea that I was supposed to feel my body. Like I was trying to think through everything, to sort through everything logically or analytically. And being prone to intellectualize hadn't gotten me anywhere. It just made everything worse. And so I finally started to relate to my felt experience, and I realized that a lot of the things that were causing me discomfort or activation or pain started to lessen and lessen and lessen and lessen and lessen. And through that process, I was able to create safety and space for me to actually be curious about what I like and who I am and how I might want to serve the world. And all the while I had been coaching in a different context. I'd been coaching strength conditioning. So I've been a gym guy for 17 years at this point. So I was doing personal training and I was doing nutrition coaching, and I saw this cool opportunity to start to integrate these somatic practices or these trauma-informed body-based healing practices. And not only did the people who I was coaching for fitness start to have a better time in the gym and start to see progress in different ways, they were noting that their life was better. Their experience in their world and the way they related to their world was a lot better. And I was like, oh, wow, there's something here. Got introduced to breath work and psychedelic therapies, and then started to just build out this model that kind of that's the reason for the integrative, calling it integrative wellness. But it's not just physical, it's not just mental or emotional, it's all parts. And so I look at healing as physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual. And there is a way, there's a solution or a strategy where you can start to accommodate all parts. You can start to approach healing from all parts. And I know that might feel overwhelming to hear that. But it starts with that choice. It starts with you taking a stand for the future that you deserve.
That's beautiful.
There's a lot of words. I hope something valuable stuck out there, but I think to simplify the whole thing, I was having a really bad time and I didn't understand what I was experiencing. And it took being curious. That was the first step. It took being curious about what might be available to me. And then it was trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. And now we're here.
For someone who is maybe exactly in those shoes that you were back then, who wants to, I'm using the word unlive, and they make the decision to give, let's say, life a chance. What would you advise them? What would you tell them? Because it's a state of being very overwhelmed and kind of lost.
For sure.
And maybe in between hope and hopeless.
Yeah, I understand. First I would say I understand where you are. I understand exactly what you're feeling. I felt it for a long time before taking action, before attempting to unalive myself. I felt that for a long time. And in those moments, I was so concerned with being a burden to others that I was unwilling and unable to ask for help. There's not a scenario in the world where I would actively ask for help. It took someone coming to me and being like, yo, you need help, for me to actually start to look at my experience.
Do you feel that's more common in men, though? That they feel gotta figure it out myself?
Yeah. Well, that's what you asked, what would I tell them? And I would say, ask for help. Ask for help. There isn't a person in your contacts list that would rather you make an attempt on your life than reach out to them. They would prefer you reach out to them. Not a single person in your contacts list would be angry that you reached out. So and it seems so flippant. That's so easy to say, ask for help. I know that it's the hardest thing you could possibly do. but given no other choice, like there are resources available. It could be a friend, it could be a partner, it could be a mentor, it could be the random guy on the street corner. I think also too, there's an invitation for people to be curious about their loved one's experience. And so like, I'll tell a story. So the last time that I attempted suicide was January 2019. And I lived in Santa Monica at the time, and I walked from my apartment to the beach. And I had this thought in my head. I was like, okay, if anybody asks about my day or how I'm doing or engages me at all, then like I won't do it. Like I won't do it. And so I walk to the beach, I sit on the beach. I'm like even putting myself close to a group of people. Maybe they'll reach out, maybe they'll say something, they'll ask about me. And I sat there for 45 minutes, an hour, and then I come back to my house. I walk through a really heavily populated area. I'm like, maybe somebody will ask. Like I'm having a really bad time. It's very evident that I'm not okay. And nobody did. And that's not to like put the responsibility on others, but it's like, hey, look, if you are somebody who has a person in your life who might be struggling, or you notice signs that they might be struggling, there is an invitation there for you to be curious about their experience. And it might not be like, hey, I noticed something's up with you, or like we have to fix this. It's just being like, hey, what's happening? What's going on?
What are the signs to look out for?
Well, I think there are like very clear signs where it's like maybe despondence, or giving away property, or acting apathetic. But I think even more with men, it's interesting to notice how many men take their lives and there are no outward signs. They're smiling and laughing 5 hours before. And I think that is, I keep using this word invitation, but men aren't often asked like about their internal experience, about how they're feeling, or about their wants, needs, desires, what would make them feel more comfortable. They're just not. And that's like a function of the structures we have in place, patriarchal systems and things like that. And I notice, especially, we talked about this before, but with guys who are transitioning out of the military or out of athletics or out of a career into another, they lose the peer support that existed inside of those containers. Like, I didn't realize that when I left the Army, there would not be any, it's silly, but there wouldn't be anyone else. Like, I'm on my own now. And so there aren't those external accountability systems to make sure you're all right. And so, again, I think that there's just this incredible invitation to be curious about the people in your lives' experience. And it's like, I think maybe that's friendship, like distilled down. It's like Bell Hooks. I don't know if you're familiar with Bell Hooks.
No.
Feminist author. I'll send you a bunch of books.
Yeah, please.
But in this book called All About Love, she talks about love. And there's a billion definitions of love, but it's being committed to another's spiritual growth. And like, you can define that however you want. But I think if you love the people in your life, then you might want to be curious about what they need to grow spiritually. And it's probably just starts with a simple question. You know, I think too, there's an interesting thing about men specifically, if we want to go there, but, and you probably heard this in so many different ways, but like women relate face to face through connection this way, like through communication and eye contact, and men relate shoulder to shoulder through activities and experience. And so it's like, I think, you know, I find myself doing this, and I always appreciate it in my life when a male friend is like, hey, let's go do this thing. Let's go spend quality time together working on this thing together. It's like collaboration is the avenue to connection. And so I don't have any answers, right? Like I'm just a guy, but like my experience has been that if you're able to take care of the people in your life in a way that serves them, then they probably stand a better chance of not falling into that negative pattern. But the individual has agency. To go all the way back to the beginning, the individual has absolute agency, and it's like you have the ability to ask for help. People are just afraid to do that. And that goes into like some of your work where you talk about childhood trauma and feeling like a burden, or feeling in the way, or feeling unable to ask for what you want, need, and desire. Like, that showed up for me. The reason I wasn't able to ask for help was partly because, yes, I felt like a burden, but also because my wants and needs had never been considered. And so I'd never learned that it was safe for me to do that.
It was your familiar. Yeah. It was what you were used to. So it's like, it's for a lot of people, how I experience this, a new a new experience when they hear, well, I can have boundaries. I can have needs. I think that's what you also described. It's hard when you come out of something and where you learn to function in and maybe just be productive or part of, I don't know, a form of, community in some ways where you actually play a certain role to in a way also to survive. Then your individual needs, they don't have space.
They don't have space. And if you've been told your whole life that they don't have space, it would make perfect sense that you wouldn't be able to ask for what you need. And I think too, it's for that type of individual, it's often like, oh, I don't want my pain to cause another pain. We can look at it through like the romantic relationship perspective where it's like, oh, if I don't want to do something that would cause my partner pain. Maybe more globally, it's like, oh, I don't want to share a thing that would potentially cause pain or make them feel like they need to care for me or whatever.
Or be too much in that sense.
And what I would challenge is like, your truth is always a gift. Your truth is always a gift, but we just want to get clear about what part of you that's true for. And so it's like we can look at like wounding. If that's the truth for a wounded part, well, maybe the wounded part just needs a bit of care. But if your adult, grounded, secure, self-contained self has a truth, then that's always a gift. And like, you're not responsible for what happens after sharing, I'm thinking,
fear of judgment is huge.
Yeah,
right? That's a huge problem.
The fear of judgment or the fear of abandonment, I think, because like the core human need is belonging. So it's like, if that's true, then like, I'm not going to do anything that would potentially jeopardize my ability to belong to a relationship, to a family unit, to a social club, or like, whatever it is, the tribe. I would never do anything that would like potentially leave me without that support. And that goes back to the thing with the peer support. It's like, well, we leave the military and then we don't belong anymore. There's no support structure. So it's like, it's almost like a chicken versus the egg thing, like what comes first. But yeah, I just think it's so interesting. And I think a lot of my work now is not specifically directed towards the veteran community, but like reshaping the way we look at transition and the way we look at support for those individuals who've left a structure. It could be athletics, it could be like a professional transition, or it could be even like leaving a long-term relationship. Like I work with a lot of people who've just navigated divorce and they're like, okay, that support structure is not there anymore. Like, what do I do now? And I see it like from a positive. It's a really incredible opportunity to get curious about what you might enjoy. And a lot of my work involves play. You talk about like, traumatized children, but like, I think the fastest way to figuring out what it is that you might like or you might enjoy is to get curious about what the youngest versions of you would have enjoyed. And that shows up in play for me. It's like when I was a kid, I loved to go to the beach. So I go to the beach every day now to try and embody a bit of that younger kid who might be interested in things that adult Ben, who's been shaped and framed by society, might not even recognize.
And in your work, how do you play with adults?
So well, I'm lucky because fitness has been the context for a lot of my work. So also too, because somatic experiencing is heavily body centric. The fastest way to get out of your head and into your body is to move your body. And so I'm able to incorporate a lot of like gym centric movement into the therapy-esque work that I do. But it's really user dependent. So like if I have an individual who like, I have a guy who loves to play ice hockey. So he like joined a men's league ice hockey league, and he's like approaching it from this, like, I define play as experience without expectation. There's so many expectations placed on us all the time. And there's always a deliverable. There's always a thing to be gained or an outcome that's desired. And really the way I look at play is like doing a thing that you enjoy simply because you enjoy it, with no other need, no other requirement. For me, I love to read. Reading is play for me. I love to read. And so like I make it a whole thing. I like dim the lights. I light the candles. I put some Palo Santo. I have some incense going. There's like music playing that makes me feel good. And then without any expectation, without any need to finish the book, I just sit and I'm very lucky. I have a couple hundred books against the wall in my house, and I just, which one speaks to me today? And then I'll just pick it and I'll read for a bit. And then when it's done, it's done.
That sounds beautiful.
It's really nice.
Wow. That's
But that's play for me, and it shows up differently for everyone. Like I love this idea that like not everything works for everyone all the time. And so I said curiosity earlier is like the entry point, but you have to be curious about what might excite you. And then when something shows up that does ignite that childlike curiosity that we all have, that's probably a place to lean in. It goes for like therapy modalities too. Like CBT wasn't for me,
I can totally understand that.
but SE was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if I wasn't curious or I wasn't open to exploring different modalities, then I might have been like frustrated. I might have been frustrated for a long time in that other modality, but like I found a thing that like really worked for me. And I say this all the time, like it's not about the breath work. It's not about the plant medicine. It's not about the movement. It's about the thing that works for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so every client is individual and every client's experience is very different. Now there are themes, there are things that I use with every client. If we want to go there, the first is probably just somatic tracking.
What is that for everyone? For someone who has never
so
ever heard of
if you're
that
unfamiliar
word?
with the somatic experiencing world, basically the most basic way I can describe this is that your experience, especially traumatic ones, are stored as energy in the body, and we have this beautiful brain that loves to think our way out of feeling through those really uncomfortable experiences. The unfortunate part is that they are stored in our body, in our nervous system, and because our nervous system is literally only there to protect us from threat, it's a hyper-vigilant defense mechanism. It will look for similar experiences to that one that was painful. And when you encounter them, that feeling or that stress response will show up once again. So like for me, or a better example is like you're being chased by a tiger one time. Like you got chased by a tiger, it was incredibly stressful. Now any four-legged furry animal is going to evoke the same response in you, like whether it's a tiger or not. Or Peter Levine would say, like me answering my email. Peter Levine is the godfather of somatic experiencing. He would say, like, oh, you going on the internet to answer your emails, that's a stressful thing, but your body interprets it as the tiger still chasing you. And
Terrible feeling.
it's a terrible feeling. That's my experience. I hate answering emails. I hate answering text messages. My screen time is like 4 minutes a day. I don't go on my phone. I don't go on the computer. It's tough for business, but I really don't like to do it. But all that said, somatic tracking is just because we have this beautiful brain that allows us to think our way out of our felt experience. We often neglect what's going on in our body, especially if you're a type A, analytical, overthinker. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. If you're an overthinker, if you're prone to rumination and you want to have control over everything, that's what rumination is. It's a bid for control. Mm-hmm. And so somatic tracking is just you being able to learn the language of your body. It's just taking an intentional step to move out of your head and into your felt experience and become comfortable with those feelings. Like there's nothing to solve, nothing to change, nothing to do. It's just to learn about what your body's experiencing. So I can use me as an example. When I am anxious or activated, I've got this weight on my chest. It's right below my sternum, just above my stomach, right here. And it feels really heavy. And if I could describe it, it's like an anvil. It's metal and it's really, really heavy. Sometimes it's more intense than others, but it just feels like there's a big metal anvil on my chest. And now what I might be prone to do if I didn't want to relate to it is I could dissociate from it. I could just let it go and I could just forget that it's there and I could navigate my day as normal, but I would still be activated. And unfortunately, I wouldn't have completed the stress response cycle. So I wouldn't have ever gotten to feel all the way through that experience. I would have just been stuck with this anxiety in my body. And a lot of us experience chronic anxiety all day just because of the structure, the system, and the culture that we live in. But the tracking allows me to sit with it and be like, okay, there's this heavy anvil on my body. I'm just going to be curious about what it might be saying to me. Like, is there a part of me that has felt this way before? Like maybe a past version of me? Have I had this experience before? Maybe there isn't. Maybe I just need to sit with it and feel it and understand that it's separate from me. Like this feeling is not me. It's just a thing that I'm experiencing. And if I can approach it from a perspective of a witness or an observer and understand that it's not good or bad, it just is, then I might notice that it starts to change shape. Like maybe the intensity lessens or it starts to move to different areas of my body, or eventually it just starts to like go away. And I understand hearing that if you're unfamiliar with the practice, maybe that's so silly. Like that doesn't seem like it's going to do, like, what do you mean? I just look at it for a bit and it like goes away? Yes.
It's that simple,
it's
right?
It's literally that simple. And so there was frustration for me as a practitioner because my background is in coaching, and coaching is incredibly directive, even prescriptive. And it's like, do this to achieve this. Mm-hmm. Sets and reps, or calories and or even, you know, here are skills. Here are skills that you can employ in your day so that you feel better about your experience. And the somatic work has been far less directive with no prescription at all. It's like you just being an observer to your experience, and to learn that in a safe container, you can feel those things, you can let them pass through you, and then you can get back on with your life.
What would be a safe container for someone, let's say, and a lot of people sit there in loneliness. How can they create a safe container?
Yeah. So we can look at it externally and internally. And my favorite is internal. So like, if we look at like when you feel those feelings of anxiety or discomfort or whatever they are, there's probably ways in your life that you soothe yourself. Like you choose self-soothing. It could be scrolling on your phone. It could be Netflix. It could be eating. It could be any behavior that's going to take you away from that feeling. It could be drinking. It could be drugs. It could be connection with a friend. It could be whatever. There's an opportunity to soothe, to self-soothe. And I think the first step there is to bring on like what I would call the soul-led version of you. And so there's a version of you that is expansive and excited and curious and connected and grounded and present. And I love this exercise where I just sit and I'm not worried about the feeling. I try and just find my body in space. And so like if I'm in this chair now, I notice my sit bones are on the seat, my back is against the rest, my arms out here to the right. This couch is soft. It's really soft. That's cool. I breathe in through my nose. I feel my body soften around the air as it comes in. As the air leaves, I feel my body relax into the seat that's providing me support. So I'm creating a little bit of safety here because I'm like here in the room, I'm present. I realize that my external environment is inherently safe. And then what I do is I close my eyes and I think back to a moment where I felt curious, capable, confident, grounded. I was present. Like where I was him, like where I was the best version of me.
Authentic self?
Yeah, you could call it that. Yeah, you could call it that. Yeah. I like soul-led. That feels nice. But yeah, your authentic self, your highest self.
Yeah.
And for people that have like experience as athletes, I often direct them towards maybe a moment on the athletic field or on the court where they felt alive, in flow is like how I would describe it. In flow. Things are easy. They're not thinking, they're feeling. I had a call with somebody yesterday. He's a chiropractor and it's him in the treatment room. He's like, no matter what anyone brings to me, I have an answer. And I'm like, yeah, that's the guy we're trying to find. I have another client. She loves to backpack. She loves to explore. And so her soul-led self is this backpacking version of her. I won't say her name, but this backpacking version of her. And we find that person in time and space, and then we just try to embody them. And embodiment is just like becoming them. And so we think about the way that they feel, the clothes they're wearing, the way the air touches their skin, maybe their view is something beautiful. They probably have a smile on their face because they're like the most authentic version of you, and most of us are happy. So they're probably smiling. For me, it's facilitator Ben or coach Ben. Like me in front of the room is a different version. Like when I lead a breathwork experience or like a group coaching experience, or when I was a platoon leader and I was in front of my soldiers, there's like a guy that comes out that's different than any other place in my life. And so I embody him. I think about the way my boots feel, the pants on my legs, on my belt's tight. I remember that my belt was tight when I was wearing my uniform. I think about the sounds, I think about the smells, I think about the people's faces that are watching me, that are listening, like hanging on my every word. And there's a version of me that comes out in those moments. And we talk about creating safety. He's safe. He's self-contained. He's sure of himself. He knows everything's going to be okay. And so what I do is I bring him online, the adult self. And then I relate to that feeling. I probably have to like remember that I am feeling anxiety because through that process you lose a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I remember, oh wait, there's that weight on my chest. Okay, I'm adult Ben right now. What younger part of myself has experienced this before? What younger part of myself just needs a little bit more care, attention, and love? And then I can just get curious. And sometimes it's different. Sometimes it's the 26-year-old version of me who feels unloved in a romantic relationship. Sometimes it's the 9-year-old version of me who doesn't think his mom cares about him. Like, you know, and different experiences in my life today evoke different responses. But what I'm doing through that process is I am building relationships with my internal family. And I don't know if we want to go into like internal family systems, but there are every version of you that has existed up until this moment still lives inside of you. They're embedded in your nervous system, and they relate to the world in the way that they did then. And if they're still harboring the emotional weight of a traumatic experience, if they're still holding that weight, then like you're also viewing the world through the lens of that younger self. And so we can like take care of those younger parts. And a lot of what I hear a lot is people are like, oh, I don't want to acknowledge them. I don't like that was an ugly part of my life.
Mm-hmm. So
And
they avoid?
yeah, they avoid.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like to say is, like what you resist persists. And I'm like, the pattern's going to continue to show up until we care for that wounded part of you, that exile part of you. And I understand me sharing this now if the people are unfamiliar with the practice, because it's very different than the classic therapy model.
Yeah.
If you Google therapist near me, you're probably going to get someone who practices like a CBT.
Yeah. You end up in talk therapy,
Yeah.
maybe. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I fully understand that me talking about healing your younger self through these practices, or just by simply scanning your body, you might be able to alleviate the intensity of the anxiety or discomfort you feel on a daily basis. Like, I get that sounds weird, but it changed my whole life.
I can say the same. Absolutely.
It changed my entire life. And now my entire life's mission is just to share the things that were valuable for me. And I I feel very grateful to be able to have these conversations with somebody who understands. Because it's even funny, like being in this space, many people don't understand. Many people still
True.
don't have any idea. It's still incredibly novel. So yeah, I'm just really happy to share. So creating safety, my background is also in psychedelics. We talked about Michael Pollan's work. If you haven't read How to Change Your Mind, it's an incredible book. It talks about psilocybin and LSD specifically, but he references this idea of set and setting. And set would be the mindset that you bring into the experience. I like to call it body set. Like, it's more than just your mind. It's the safety you feel in your body. And setting is the actual setting, the container that you enter into to participate in the psychedelic experience. But it isn't just psychedelics, it's everything. And so if your body can be more regulated and feel safer, and the container that you exist in can be as safe as possible, then you stand a better chance of being that authentic self more often, which I think is like the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah. How did it help you, for example? Because there's a lot of talk about psychedelics and how is it benefiting for people with trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma is such a strong word.
Yeah.
I think it excludes people. I feel like it's more like for everyone who struggles with their mental health, maybe I would say.
Yeah.
Because it's for everyone, from anxiety to panic attack to depression, trauma. How did you experience it?
Yeah. Psychedelics for me were really incredible because being prone to rumination and overthinking, I was stuck in my patterning. My thoughts were repetitive and I was in a constant loop. And a lot of it was about my self-worth, that I wasn't good, or I wouldn't be able to achieve the things I needed to achieve because there was some inherent problem with me. And there's this metaphor with psilocybin specifically, where like, imagine you're taking a sled down a hill and you take the same path over and over. That could be the repetitive thought, the thought loop that I'm stuck in. I take this sled down the same path. Over time, I'm going to wear a rut in the snow. It's going to be so deep, the walls will be high on the sides. I won't be able to deviate from that path. Mm-hmm. But psychedelics, psilocybin specifically, is like a fresh snowfall. And it covers the rut. And then you're standing at the top of the hill and you're like, wait, I can take any path. Mm. And that's like a really simplified version.
But I like it.
But it's really spot on. Like, plant medicine gives you what you need. And so I think there is this expectation that many people have that it might be an easy button. It might be like, oh, I go do this plant medicine ceremony. You see that in Los Angeles all the time. There's a million ayahuasca ceremonies happening every weekend. You just have to know where to look. And my frustration, if I had one, was that there's an expectation that, oh, this one experience with plant medicine will change my life forever. And like, maybe that happens. Maybe. But what I've experienced is that plant medicine just provides a new perspective. And then, similar to that Nietzsche quote, where between what's happened and what will happen, there's an opportunity for me to choose something different. because I have this new perspective, maybe I have new awareness, or maybe I've related to some of these repressed emotions or feelings that I've not been able to, that now I can choose to show up in my life differently. And I think if I could distill therapeutic practices or therapy down into like one thing, it's like maybe the whole point is just to feel the things you're not willing or able to feel. Like, what are you afraid to feel? That's like where therapy gets you. And plant medicine allows you to feel those things. And there are not negatives, but there's no governor. So there's no, I look at healing modalities through two lenses, passive and active.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the active modalities best, like training or therapy or breath work, where like you're the driver, you're in complete control. If it's ever too much, you can pause, you can pull back. I think that's important because in healing, we're looking to titrate stressors. We're looking to titrate you into a place where you have greater capacity. And sometimes with plant medicine, and this is where you hear about people having a negative experience most often, it's like they take the plant medicine and it shows them something that they don't have the capacity or tolerance to navigate yet.
That's too overwhelming for them?
Maybe too overwhelming, or I hate the language bad trip, but it is an experience that they weren't prepared for. Mm-hmm. And they probably don't have the support that they need in terms of preparation or even facilitation and then ultimately integration. And so my goal is to provide a well-rounded experience that gives them exactly what they need, nothing more, nothing less, and then allows them to relate to that experience. And if they're curious about pursuing plant medicine again, then like we have the opportunity to do that. It's like, I think what I'm trying to say is that if you were just getting started out in this like healing journey, pursuing the active modalities of healing is probably the best place to start, because there is agency there. Mm-hmm. There is control. You're not giving control to the plant medicine or some entity outside of yourself. You have complete control. And so I always talk about physical fitness being the gateway to all other healing. And it's like, if you're looking for a place to start, like move your body with intention. That's probably the first part. And then from there you can explore any other modality.
So basically you're saying first get self-awareness, then go into nervous system safety, maybe?
And I love that you said safety there. Because if you go on the internet, you hear nervous system regulation, nervous system regulation, nervous system regulation. That's the language. But I think it's more nuanced than that. And the nervous system work, like the education is valuable, but the embodied experience of building capacity is like what we're really after. That window of tolerance that I was talking about, like with psychedelics, that maybe we do something that's not tolerable. And I think, are you familiar with this idea of titration?
No.
So imagine you have an acid and a base. You have two beakers. You got an acid in one beaker and you have a base in the other. Mm-hmm. And if you just pour the acid into the base, there's going to be this massive reaction. It's going to be too much. There's going to be like, I don't know, it's an explosion or like foam or whatever happens. But if I take a little dropper and I take a dropper of the acid and I put it into the base, there might be like a little fizzle, but it calms down. If I take another little dropper, there's a fizzle. Over time, I'll move the entire beaker of acid into the base, but there wasn't this massive explosion. And we can look at like trauma through the same lens, or this healing work through the same lens, where it's like I'm only trying to titrate, mm-hmm. for lack of a better word. I'm trying to expose stressors or expose experience in just the right amount, just enough, so it allows us to relate from a safe place to the experience and try and build more capacity. Because really what we're trying to do, okay, imagine like a graph, like lengthwise, you've got like this waveform, right? That's mm-hmm. That's your experience. That's you moving through the world. There's natural ebb and flow. There's like activation, there's regulation, there's activation, there's regulation. And you're inside of this like window of tolerance. It feels okay. It's your life. You live it. Some moments are more stressful than others, but like you're doing all right. You're managing. Yeah. Then something happens. It could be like some guy cuts you off in traffic, or it could be a conflict with your partner, or it could be something like the death of a family member, like something traumatic happens. And if you're not aware of how the nervous system relates or how the nervous system responds, then you're probably thrown out of that window of tolerance. And so if you're out of the window of tolerance, then you're kind of at the whim of your nervous system, and it's patterned based on your experience. And so like you're going to be either activated. We talked about the ventral vagal state, which is like calm and regulated. You're probably going to be in the sympathetic state if it's stressful. If it's too stressful, you might go into the dorsal vagal state. Yeah, freeze state. And now there will be a natural regression back down into ventral vagal over time, ideally. But if you've built your capacity or you've expanded this window of tolerance, then you stand a better chance of navigating those stressors when they come. And I think the most important part is like just understanding that those responses are normal and regular and appropriate. And because often, like I live in functional freeze state, even still today. Like that's my default. When I'm activated, I'm frozen.
Yeah. Okay.
I bypass
So
sympathetic.
the brain how decides it's not, you cannot control it.
Yeah,
it just happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
And the autonomic nervous system works autonomously. It works without me thinking about it. I lived my entire 20s frozen. Had no idea. But now I have an understanding, and I have language, and I have tools, for lack of a better term, to like get me back down the mountain, back down into that parasympathetic or that ventral vagal state. And my hope is just that we can understand that like this work or this the nervous system centric work, or even the therapy work that you do, like because you're a trauma informed therapist, so it is nervous system work.
Yeah.
But it's really just to build capacity. It's like physical training.
It is. You
like
have to keep it up.
Like a bigger, stronger body is more capable.
True.
You know, or not bigger is probably not the right word, but a stronger body is more capable. A stronger nervous system or a more flexible nervous system is more capable at handling stressors when they show up.
I like that you put it that way. That's really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's a nice way, because and I work with men. Lately, I've been working with a lot of men, and I think there's this aversion to calling it therapy or calling it anything that is remotely close to like this is mental health work, like because you have to admit there's a mission that there needs to be a change or that we need help, or I'm still working through that. But I talk about it like it's fitness for your nervous system. It's like it's training for your nervous system.
Absolutely agree. That's so true. But can I go back to the psychedelics? Please. Because I find this so fascinating, because a lot of people with mental health struggles, again, can be from childhood onwards. You mentioned I lived my whole 20s in freeze. Yeah. Often that means you're stuck in survival mode, where creativity is not flowing, where you're not, let's say, I'm going a little bit more extreme, there is no joy.
No joy.
There is just existing.
Yep.
Is there, and that's where I'm curious, because a lot of times in therapy also, you can go into months on end, and the nervous system work is very important, of course, but people sometimes get stuck in it, and there's the anxiety, and they've never lived a life without feeling that it could even be possible to, let's say, not overthink, to not feel the anxiety, maybe not be so negative. Is with the psychedelics, because the way you described it was it creates a new pathway. Is there also this possibility of, except from feeling, let's say, feelings that you have not resolved, is it also possible to experience the other side of the coin? That means I've one time experienced joy.
Yeah. I think that it's almost like you're reading my mind, because I didn't get to say it, but I said something last week. I had a call last week. We just hosted a retreat over Memorial Day weekend, and we're doing all the integration calls now. And I just had a call with somebody, and I was like, he described something similar. He's like, I felt joy for the first time, like real joy. And not just like I thought it was joy. I felt it in my body, and it felt warm, and it felt tingly, and it felt soft. It was like warm and soft and tingly. And so we're like talking through this felt experience. And I was like, does it have a color? Like what? Tell me about it. And he's like, oh, it's light blue. And I'm like, oh, that's incredible. Like, that's so cool that you're like learning this language of your body. And he was worried that he wouldn't be able to find that in his real life. And I was like, okay, well, because we felt it there, we can feel it anywhere. Like, because it showed up for you there in the plant medicine, we can recreate it. And it goes back to that embodiment. It's like we can relate to that feeling. Like I can look for places where I have that softness and that warmth. And like it shows up. You just have to be listening. But it shows up in your life. And for me, it's less about because like I'm very similar. Because I'm stuck in freeze, everything is relief. There's no joy. It's like I complete a task, relief.
Yeah.
I have a conversation, it's relief. I get enough sleep, it's relief. There's like no, I make dinner, it's relief. There's no like joy or
playfulness.
Yeah, it's an interesting place to live, but I've been able to grow a relationship with joy through plant medicine, and because I am exposed to it more frequently, I'm like building my capacity to experience it in real life. And it's informed by my earliest relationships with my caregivers as a child. Like joy wasn't a thing that existed in my house. So I never learned it, but I'm learning it now. And so it's like dual pronged, right? Like I'm doing the passive work with the psychedelics, and then I'm also creating that safety with my highest self, my authentic self, through the somatic experiencing. And so it's like this dual prong attack where we're actively I'm creating that safety for a place for me to experience joy, and then passively I'm also creating like almost the infrastructure for me to have joy as well. It doesn't show up very often, that's for sure, but I'm much more aware when it does, which is cool.
So you're inviting it also more into your life and through real lived experiences.
Yeah, well, I think too often people that struggle with a lot of anxiety or struggle with a lot of discomfort in the body, they're not just repressing. Like the nervous system is quite interesting to me, but it's like if you're prone to repress all felt experience or prone to repress the negative felt experience, you're going to suppress the positive one too. And so it's like because I'm getting more adept at navigating the feelings when I'm having a negative experience, I'm also getting more adept at navigating the feelings when I'm having a positive one. And I'm even, there's layers to it, right? Like I'm even a product of an environment where like joy didn't just not exist, it like wasn't appreciated or accepted, or like it wasn't a thing to be valued. And there's onus on me as like the individual to start to celebrate the parts of my life that are beautiful. And so that's actually something that I do a lot, because men specifically don't have many opportunities to do this. There's celebration after like a sports win, or celebration after like a business deal, or like I go out and get drinks with the boys. But I think there's something beautiful about celebrating the small parts of your life. Like I made this beautiful dinner. I connected with my partner. Like those are celebrations or moments for celebration too. And you talked about living in this freeze state, and I talked about opening up my window of tolerance. But it's been pretty interesting for me, myself, and relating to clients, where it's these like small little tiny steps that affect massive change. And there is this compulsion, or like for me, it's like I need to solve all this at once. I need to get out of freeze and back into ventral vagal, and I need to be calm and present and grounded and effective in my work. I need to like fix everything at once. And my mentor had about a 4-year period where I like was having a really hard time. This is like 2020 into end of 2023. And what's funny is, my whole life had been one of production, where I needed to produce to be valuable. I needed to prove to everyone how good I was, or how important I was, or how valuable I was. And we did one task a day for like 4 years. And it was just to show me that like slowing down was safe, and committing dedicated time and energy to one thing actually allowed me to be more effective. It was like all the things I thought that weren't going to come from this ended up coming from this. I like was more effective in my work. I was more present. I created some more safety in my nervous system, and I was able to work myself out of freeze and into sympathetic, which is like what people don't often understand. But if you're stuck in freeze state and you want to work yourself back down into a regulated, calmer state, you have to pass through activation first. You can't climb a mountain and jump from 14,000 feet back down to zero. You got to come back to 13 and 12 and 11 and 10. So that's something to share with the audience is if you're stuck in functional freeze or you're stuck in this freeze state, you're probably going to be activated, but that's an incredible sign that you're healing, that you're coming back down.
How did the activation look like for you? Was it anger?
Panic.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of panic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably panic as a proxy for something else. It's grief or anger showing up as panic. For me, there's been a lot of grief around like what my life should have been or could have been.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
The childhood I should have had, or the opportunity I could have taken advantage of had I just it been different, Yeah. And I'm really into Zen Buddhism. That's like my new hyperfixation is Zen Buddhism, and I love this idea of a thought or a feeling. You can either crave it, you can detest it, you can be numb to it, or you can just observe it. And I've got my commitment to myself here in this season of my life is just to witness. And like that grief, like, okay, I'm sad about that thing, or that anger, okay, I'm angry about that thing. That's cool to note. Or even like the felt experience. Okay, I've got this weight on my stomach and it's not good or bad or indifferent. It just is. And I can just experience it. And that sounds like pretty silly, but that's been really helpful. Just that perspective that like, I'm just here to observe it. I'm just here to witness it. And my panic and my activation, because like I suffer from panic attacks pretty frequently, and I've chosen to just brand them as it's part of the healing work. And like when I was in freeze, I didn't have those. So I must be getting closer to regulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're still working through.
Yeah. I'm for me, they're a sign that I've taken on too much, that I have not expressed my needs or wants, and in an effort to be valuable, I've taken on too much.
Mm-hmm.
And in those moments, my compulsion is to run, to avoid, and to be like, oh, this isn't for me. This professional relationship, this personal relationship, this romantic partnership, like I've given too much. I haven't expressed my needs. They don't want to know my needs. They don't care. And so I'm going to run. Mm-hmm. And
so you abandon before you get abandoned.
Yeah. And it's shown up for me in those moments where I've chosen to express my needs. That's where the panic comes, because I've chosen to take a stand for myself. The work for me is to be like, hey, look, like, don't let it get to that place. Express your needs. Mm-hmm. Understanding that it might not be the right relationship, professionally, personally, or otherwise. It might not be the right relationship, but you can express your needs. And so it's just me creating safety in being okay to express my needs.
Beautiful that you're doing this.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
And there's always something I ask everyone who comes on my podcast. If you could travel anywhere in time in your own life and you could speak to your maybe younger self, what would you tell your past self or younger self?
Yeah. There's like a 6 or 7 year old version of me who's really confused and afraid and unsure about everything. And I would just let him know that he just needs to be a kid. He doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't need to solve anything. He definitely doesn't need to be a parent to himself or his actual parents or his sister. He can just be a kid. And if everyone else decides to leave, I've got him. I'll take care of him because I love him, and I'm not going anywhere. And I share that because this is actually one of the most valuable practices I've done in my own healing journey, and something that I present to almost every client that I work with is there's probably a young wounded part of you that's showing up most often. And if we can find them and relate to them and speak to them, then we might ultimately be able to provide them the love and support that they've never gotten. And for me, it was a 7-year-old kid. His photo's on my desk. I write to him every morning and I say that same thing. If everyone else decides to leave, I've got you. And it's been one of the most important parts of my own healing journey. Because it's funny, he doesn't show up as much anymore. he doesn't need to. You know, he's a harmonious part of my current day experience. He's not needing attention anymore because I've given it to him, which is really cool.
That's beautiful, because most of the time the fearful inner child shows up a lot.
Yeah.
Particularly when we haven't started that healing journey.
He and I have I've been writing to him every day for almost 7 years. So he and I.
Wow. That's really incredible.
I think that's another, just like one thing, if I could say about this work, whether it's CBT or any other therapy modality or any endeavor where the goal is like healing, the process is a lifetime effort. Like there is no end game here.
No.
And so I often experience frustration from clients where they're like, well, I'm not fixed yet. I'm like, well, there's nothing to fix. I've written 2,500 letters to my 7-year-old self in the last 7 years. And like, we're just now becoming friends. Like, the commitment to this work is a commitment to you for the rest of your life. And there is no end game. There's no 3-month contract and this thing's going to be better at the end. It's like, this is just a lifetime effort. And I think it's probably the most important undertaking that any of us could navigate.
Agree more. It's the most important relationship you will ever have.
Yeah. Because only one relationship is going to last for your entire life, and that's your relationship to yourself.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Ben, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on social media at Ben V. Smith, BenVeeSmith. I post content on there sometimes. I have a newsletter. There's ways to access that through the social media, or my website is benvsmith.com, benvesmith.com. I've got a couple cool things in the works, an online community and a podcast that's coming out in about a month, just talking about this stuff, my perspective on mental health. My hope ultimately is to provide a safe space for men to relate to their experience. I think that's where I'm feeling called. I've worked with men and women for a long time now, but I really feel called to support men. And so I've got some cool stuff coming, but the newsletter is probably the place to start. So I really appreciate you having me on too.
Wow.
This is
I'm happy that you were here.
I rambled for an hour, but yeah, it's been really special. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben, for sharing about your personal story, but also about the work that you're doing. I'm hugely grateful, and I think it speaks not just for women, but also particularly for men out there who struggle so much in silence and often in loneliness, all by themselves.
Yeah, tell somebody.
Yeah, please, and please look up Ben and maybe work with Ben.
That'll be cool too.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, everyone, for watching this incredibly powerful and deep episode today. And I'm gonna see you in our next episode, wherever that's gonna be.